Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your hosts, TV Scouting MMA and
The Guru back again with UFC 271. Israel, the Stylebender Adesanya versus Robert the Reaper Whittaker II. The rematch to see who is the true king of the 185-pound middleweight division. And honestly, this card is stacked top to bottom. Derek the Black Beast Lewis taking on Tai Shui Bam Bam Tuivasa. That's a crazy one too. Sure to have some fireworks in there. And honestly, I mean, there's so many good ones. This is what I like to call a people's card. Because it's for everybody. It's for your hardcore fans, and it's for your buddy that maybe doesn't watch all of them, maybe only tunes in for the McGregor ones. I feel like you could get him to tune in for this one.
oh yeah, I mean, listen, this is Israel Adesanya is one of the reasons why I'm as big of a fan of MMA as I am today, and I got the zip up on with the Adesanya on the back right now, repping it. I mean, there's sure to be some bias in the breakdown, but and hey, look over there, Guru's got it going on too. So I mean, listen, but when you talk about Robert Whittaker, I mean, there's so much to get excited about who he is as a person and a fighter. Like it's just so exciting. So I mean, thank you, boys. We're always a minute or two late. It's Kiwi time. We feel you on that, Daz and DFS. Thanks for hopping in, man. Always appreciate seeing you. Uh,
What's up, Brady? What's
yeah,
up, Daz? Good to see you boys. Thanks for tuning in. Always appreciate you guys popping by.
yeah. So I mean, listen, we get into this breakdown here, and man, it's just a matchup of two of the best personalities and fighters in the middleweight division right now, and all of the UFC. So, I mean, without further ado, let's get into the what we love doing best, and that's breaking down fights. I mean, we got Robert the Reaper Whittaker and Israel Stylebender Adesanya making their second matchup here. And when you start looking at the cursory stats, I mean, it's pretty clear to see that Adesanya's got the advantage in the stand up. And, Whittaker seems to have the advantage here, if this fight is going to hit the mat. Last time, Whittaker was able to close the distance a bit and get on the inside and even land a few strikes, but it's always at the expense of being landed on in the pocket by someone with a greater reach. And those strikes have so much more impact, especially when the head movement of Adesanya, if you're not going to attack him to the body and force him to wrestle, you're not really going to have a chance. And even with that, I'm not sure Whittaker has the overall size to really give Adesanya the issues on the ground that Jan Blachowicz and even Marvin Vettori were able to give him in sparks. So I
I,
do
I
go
think,
back here to say, Guru, where do you think you are on this fight?
yeah, I think the biggest problem, and again, I'm wearing my Izzy shirt, but I'm really the biggest Robert Whittaker fan. I always have been. Um, Truly one of my favorite fighters. I'm really the biggest Robert. I just feel like if we're expecting him to use his takedowns, right? Because the game plan makes sense. It's just not how fights work. You can't. You're not just gonna change the way that you fight. He just doesn't fight that way. Sure, he has the advantage on the ground, and he may get it there once or twice, even. But he's not gonna put on his Khabib shoes. He's not putting on his Kamaru Usman shoes. He won't be able to follow the blueprint of Jan Blachowicz because he's not 20 pounds bigger than like Jan Blachowicz was. Um, it is unfortunate. I do think, like everybody's been saying, just like Izzy coach and even Izzy himself have been saying, Rob's not going to rush in like he did. That was so obvious. It was written. When you watch the fight, and it's not like him at all. He hadn't fought in 16 months. If you guys remember the pulse of the fans at that time, they were ruthless to Rob with him calling out, pulling out of fights, always calling that he was hurt. Man, there was so much pressure after 16 months off. And Adesanya had literally all the smoke, all the swag that you could possibly have going into that fight, and you just watch him load up and throw everything into his strikes, and he doesn't fight that way. He's so much more of a cerebral fighter. You're gonna see him respect Adesanya's power more. And you're going to see, I think, Adesanya respect Whittaker a little bit more, just because I think he's just been through more now as he is a fighter. Like he was so, that fight was just, I mean, to me, that was that's Izzy's best performance of his career still. Like, people may say the Costa fight, but I think the Whittaker fight was better.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're facing a higher level tactician in that fight than definitely than Costa, as we saw. And I think in this fight, you're right. I mean, as far as mimicking styles goes, I think you realized he made a bit of a mistake in trying to mimic the style of Kelvin Gastelum, but I don't think it's going to be a great idea to try to mimic the stylings of Jan Blachowicz either, because the biggest thing, I mean, uh, Whitaker, he's given up 7 inches of reach. He's given up, 1.5 inch of leg reach. Every time that he goes to get inside, if he's not changing the level of his threats when he's in the pocket, he's not going to be able to consistently hurt Adesanya because the head movement and the defense and the awareness. And now Adesanya's already had 1.5 rounds to get a read on what Whitaker does and how fast he is. I don't think he's gotten faster since their first matchup. I just don't. I know he's 31 years old. Adesanya is 32. So whatever happening for either guy is probably going to be the same here. So when we get down into it, Whitaker, I think he is going to end up with a little bit of control time at points. I think he will throw some more leg kicks. I do think he might attack the body a little bit more. I just don't think it's going to be enough in concert, because he just seems to be a headhunter at times, and he's definitely been hurt before. And who has he finished as of recently? That's the other question. I mean, the last finish that he had was Derek Brunson, run face first, chin up, and that's before the Henry Hooft effect happened.
Uh,
I don't envision a finish here for Whitaker. I don't, and I could envision Adesanya getting a finish, but I think the most likely thing to look at is Adesanya by decision at plus 150, or just as an overall prop for the fight goes the distance. Adesanya versus Whitaker right now is minus 120 on DraftKings. And what's the line
yeah.
on FanDuel?
So Izzy by decision is plus 170 on FanDuel. So if you like that, that's where you'd have to take it. And for the fight to go the distance is minus 120. Actually, it's minus 110. So I'm probably going to play that on air because I haven't seen that cheaper anywhere else. I feel like there's a little bit of the narrative baked in that it is going to go the distance now. I haven't really seen many people calling for the finish on really either side. I just think that Rob, like you said, there's only so many improvements that could have been made, and outside of Rob catching him, I honestly, what I think will happen, I think it'll be like a 49-46er. Like I do. I think maybe Rob can do enough to win a round. Maybe if Izzy takes one off, or if he can win with some grappling, maybe he can steal a second one, 48-47. But yeah, Izzy just seems on top of that mountain right now. And I think after signing, I don't know if you guys heard that, he just signed his new deal today. He didn't have a UFC. Israel did not sign a bout agreement for this fight until this week. That's a fact. So for that to happen, I don't. It just puts in my mind Izzy's just so confident. Not only he's tripling down on himself in terms of the contract and all of it. It's so much pressure, but if anything, he's now actually relieved. So he's gonna go in there knowing that he's taken care of, and I think put on I think it's gonna be a war.
Yeah, I mean, both guys are looking at a total finish percentage in the 60 percentile. So that's overall against worse level opponents. And you've seen them go to decision each way too many times recently to think, I don't think this is going to be a repeat of the first performance. So that's why I do tend to lean fight goes decision here. And that minus 110 looks extra juicy. That's probably going to be one of the bigger plays of the day. And that maybe not the biggest. We'll get down to that. But Adesanya at minus 280, where Whitaker's plus 225. That's where I lean to playing the props in this fight, because there was probably better value to be had on Adesanya before the line started jumping a little bit. And I do think that this fight may play out optically a little bit closer than getting flatlined at the end of round one and getting, ended in round two by knockout. So that overall, that's going to be one of the bigger plays of the day here.
I think if you wanted to save yourself with Izzy, you might want to think about Izzy round 4-5 decision plus 120 on FanDuel.
Ooh, that's also interesting.
Yeah. I
All
mean,
right.
I guess if you're betting Rob, I think you should probably do. It's probably obvious though, right? Where's the double chance? There it is. KO or points it's probably the same. You get a little bit of extra juice. KO or points for I wouldn't even do it because he could
No, because
really
he could
get the
sub him.
submission.
I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
wouldn't even do
not
that.
it's not a high probability, but
No.
that has to be one of his attempted paths to victory, right?
Yeah, I would just put Rob money line, and that's probably the problem. Is that I mean, maybe you'd play him by decision, but he could get the sub, he could get the knockout. So it's gotta it's is it favored or pass? Like I don't even know what to call that fight.
Overall, I just think that you follow the props that we laid out. Either you're going to want to do
You're
the
right.
Izzy with the later rounds or decision, or you're going to just want to play this fight goes to decision.
You're
I think that's that.
you're honestly you're so right, and it made me feel if we could take as you pull up the next sets, if we pull up
Yeah.
a quick digression, like it made me think about the Ngannou and Gon fight and how we liked Ngannou and we did end up playing a little bit of dog on him, but it felt so good leading into it, knowing that we were fairly good to cash bets without having to pick a side. Like we could just enjoy the fight. Like it wasn't contingent on that. And then that was like a really nice feeling. Just like more contingent on the prop as opposed to a side.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. And that's the nice part is that sometimes you just get one of those feels. And just for we had a fight start round 2, right? So that's
Exactly.
So yeah, overall, that kind of wraps it up for the Adesanya and Whittaker. I mean, my pick overall is going to be Adesanya, and I'm going to take him by decision. So now we got on to what actually might end up being our biggest play of the day here. We have Derek Lewis versus Tai Tuivasa. You get into the breakdown. Tai Tuivasa is 8 years younger, but Derek Lewis has the size advantage here: 4 inches of reach, 4 inches of leg reach. He's an inch taller, and he's gigantic. I know Tai Tuivasa cuts a lot of weight to make heavyweight, but I just think Lewis just has a much bigger frame overall, and he packs so much power. Overall, you look at the striking numbers, and yeah, Tai Tuivasa's got some good, some good stuff in the striking stats. It looks like Derek Lewis has a good advantage if this fight hits the ground, and believe it or not, I mean Derek Lewis, for all these stand-up knockouts he's had recently, it's the ground and pound where he's really been dominant in the past. 9.36 ground strikes per minute of control. This guy's going for the finish every time he gets you in a ground and pound situation. And Tai Tuivasa, let me tell you something. For all the limited time he spent at American Kickboxing Academy, I don't think he's really built for a defensive wrestling path. So, Guru, I mean, what are you seeing here in this fight?
Listen, what you see is Derek Lewis is a type of guy that only loses to extremely high level of competition. And that was the thing that really stood out to me. Tell me if Tai Tuivasa fits in the Cyril Gane, Daniel Cormier, Junior Dos Santos, but obviously, I mean, if Derek Lewis was hurt going into that fight and he took it for a payday. He took it 4 months after the DC fight, and Mark Hunt. Those are his last 4 losses in the last 9 years. 8-9 years. So those are all really high level. I don't know that Tai is that guy. And the one thing that I have been hearing a lot of, and it is an interesting point, is Tai's leg kicks. Right? What happens if Derek is standing there and he's bobbing and Tai is pelting him with leg kicks? Yeah, he might get off 1 or 2. I'm telling you, when he goes to throw that third one, he's getting countered because Tai doesn't cover up properly when he throws those leg kicks. I'm sure he's going to be looking to because it's Derek Lewis coming back at him, but I think Derek is going to find his timing. Tai Tuivasa is not Edson Barbosa in his prime with the leg kicks. Like I just don't. I think Derek has really improved his game well enough that he's gonna, like you right. Everybody's talking Chris Dawkins hand speed. He's gonna finish him, bro. Da, 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 da. What? Where? When? How? It probably didn't even come. It wasn't even close. That fight Derek Lewis should have been minus 1,000 in that fight. I don't think he ever loses that fight to Chris Daukaus.
So I will say, Tai Tuivasa does throw hard. It's just I haven't seen too many one-punch knockouts of his, and I think with Lewis, it's very dangerous to open up on extended combos in the pocket where Tai Tuivasa lives. So overall, it makes me, really tempted here. You see Tai, like you talked about on all the tape study, it's dangerous when he's going to start throwing these leg kicks, and if he's not, confident in throwing those, if he catches a counter coming back early, that's going to take away a big part of his game plan, and I'm not sure he has something to really recover. So um, now, so I think one important point here: only time that Ty was TKO'd was from ground and pound. But we do remember watching Greg Hardy on tape visibly wobbling to Ivasa
Oh yeah,
and
and
then
he
running
rushes
straight.
in. He
Yeah,
rushes in.
and then we got Drew in the chat. There you
What
go.
up,
And then
bud?
yeah, so Lewis does turn away when hit. That is true. And I think he does know when to create distance for himself, when he needs to kind of run away, and when he needs to kind of cover up and play possum, and then he returns with these big counter shots. And you've seen him kind of do that against some really, great opponents, but I'm not sure
High
that
high
Tuivasa
level
is quite that same level.
high level guys that pushed Derek Lewis to his cardio brink and mental frustration brink. You see that Mark Hunt fight. That was before he even took fighting seriously. So he's going 5 rounds with a veteran. He starts to gas out, and that's it. Mark Hunt takes over and punishes him. Daniel Cormier wears him down with the wrestling, starts to lay on him. Rear naked choke, chokes him out. Not surprising. Daniel Cormier is one of the best to ever do it. Again, like I said, the Junior DeSantis fight, he takes a paycheck 4 months after the DC fight and then really decides to start taking his training seriously, rattles off a bunch of big wins, and gets himself the title shot versus Cyril Gahn, who then he puts all that pressure on himself back in Houston. It was, I believe, like 9 years to the day of something that he got released from prison. He takes himself being a fuck up. Like, I know he makes a lot of jokes, but he takes himself being a fuck up very seriously and his whole old life very seriously. So for him to get that title shot and like in front of his home crowd, in front of his fans, family on that day that he's released from jail was so much pressure. And then to fight Cyril fucking Gahn. Like, I mean, the result may have been the same regardless of what mental shit was going on in his head, but there was also mental shit going on in his head. He will fight free as a bird. He's got 3 rounds. He doesn't have to worry about the cardio. He took this fight again 3 months later, but he took this, I think, this time because he was ready, not because he's itching for a paycheck. And that's why you want to see guys take fights. So Ty is finally getting a big name fight and a co-main opportunity, so that's why he's taking it. He's a young guy, and I think that I think Derek gets it done. I don't even want to necessarily. I think the fight doesn't go the distance, but I think that it'll be too chalky, right? What's the line on that?
Yeah, I don't really love that type of idea just because we have seen these guys go
The
the
distance.
distance before. So it's probably going to be baked in there. I had Derek Lewis by knockout was at minus 125. I don't love that. It's minus 650 for this fight to go the distance. It almost makes me want to play the plus 380 on this fight goes the distance because
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I
It's
just
too
love fading the
likely.
narrative. It's just like too much. But at the same time, I think Derek Lewis is going to knock Tai Tuivasa out for a fight
Yeah,
that's minus
I'll call him.
650 to go the distance. You got Lewis at minus 125 to get it with the knockout. That's a
Yeah,
pretty safe bet, but
all I can
I'll
think
end up
about is
saying just
all,
Derek Lewis. He's down
all,
to minus 170 now.
all I
He
can
was
think about is my stupid ass ticket I had on the Chris Daukaus Lewis fight for that fight to start round 2, and it was looking fucking golden. And then Chris rushes in, and it's over, and it's over. He literally melts his whole face. Weirdly for this fight, and then we will move on. The prop for the fight to start round 2 is minus 120 yes and minus 110 no. So like they're like fairly weirded out about how this fight's going to go as well.
yeah, I mean, it can happen at any point from my perspective. So, and it can just go the distance. I'm not so sure on either thing, but if you're asking me to play a minus 650. That's just not going to happen on a fight inside the distance at any weight. So I will just say Derek Lewis minus 170. That's probably going to be end up baked into one of my biggest plays of the day.
Yeah, I mean that line is minus. Is it still minus 170 on DraftKings right now?
Yeah.
Wow, it's minus 192 on FanDuel, so I'd imagine that DraftKings line will move very soon.
It wasn't minus 180 and it moved to minus 170. I mean, money must be coming in on Tai just on DraftKings right now.
That's an interesting thought.
But on to our next fight here. We got Jared the Killer Gorilla Cannonier versus Derek Brunson. I'm so excited because in this fight, it's like you've had Derek Brunson on this awesome run, and Jared Cannonier, yeah, he's coming off of a little down fight, when he lost to Whittaker, but then he came out and where Gastelum put him in a bad position, he's able to rebound. So, I really do think that Cannonier has shown he has some patience. He's able to work the leg kicks. He's able to land a fight-ending punch at any point in the fight. You got to look out for it. But with the wrestling prowess of Derek Brunson, and like I was telling Guru, earlier in the day, is he the new like Glover Teixeira at middleweight here, reinvented, old, making the late title run? Every time he gets rocked and you think he's done, all of a sudden he's shooting a double leg and he's hitting you with elbows while he's pinning down your elbow with his shin and getting off like clean ground and pound. I mean, he's doing that against Till. He's getting Holland in bad positions and holding him down. So at the end of the day, you see Jared Cannonier, his takedown defense has been much improved as he's moved down in weight classes. But I don't think, Jack Hermanson, as he showed against Strickland, he's not necessarily the most controlling grappler where he looks to kind of get off damage and hunt for submissions and stuff like that. So yeah, Cannonier is able to explode to his feet. Brunson, he's much more of a control artist. It was very concerning to see the performance against Yoel Romero, but I mean, do you think that Brunson can get a decision? Can he get a ground and pound knockout? Guru, where do you lean on this fight? Because we got Cannonier minus 160 and Brunson plus 140 right now.
I really, really liked Brunson until I heard the media comments this week where he announced that basically 2 fights, win, lose, draw, he's going to retire. These guys change their mind all the time. It just seems like it's pretty legit, especially at 38 years old, kind of makes sense. Probably want to wrap it up before 40. And he's at the top, so this is, you're not going to make it. You don't want to be Jacare trying to climb that ladder again at 42. So I understand the thought process there. I don't know. It's all it is I guess is a red flag. So let's break down the fight for what it is. And I feel stupid and it makes me hate myself. But while I was on Till pretty hard last time. After loving him versus Edmund Shabazian and Kevin Holland, so we were on the Blonde Brunson train. And then kind of maybe it's time to hop off. And it was the wrong stop to get off at. And we paid for it. So sorry, Brunson. But I kind of want to get back on. Like we haven't seen what we haven't seen with Jared Cannonier is, yes, he's extremely powerful. He's extremely explosive. He throws punishing leg kicks, and has a barrage of interesting boxing attacks that can make it very difficult for Brunson to really close the distance. But what we haven't seen is somebody spam wrestle Cannonier. Nobody's tried to wrestle him like that. Yeah, Jack Hermanson a little bit, but we just saw, like we preached on this show last week, Jack is not a good. We're talking about a Robert Whittaker today too. Like if guys show that they can't have a propensity to do something, like we're not just going to assume that they're going to do it because we want them to, because it fits the narrative that we're building. Like Jack Hermanson doesn't get the control takedowns that and has the same control that Brunson does. So he's going to work for it. And like you said, the Yoel Romero fight was tough. I mean, people forget that fight. Brunson whooped him for 2 rounds, almost knocked him out. But Brunson gassed and is doesn't have the same striking knowledge that he has now, and got just battered,
Yeah.
brutal finish from Yoel. I lean Brunson here, especially at the dog price, plus 150. I believe we got it at. Is that what we played it?
I think we got a plus 145.
So that's still
So
pretty. That's still pretty good.
yeah, we beat a little line movement. We probably missed out on a little line movement towards the beginning, but overall, I think Brunson has shown at least the ability to be a little bit more careful before running in. He hasn't shown that he's gotten knocked out by one punch in the
Right.
past,
That's what I
or
also
he's
wanted to
gotten
bring up. Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah.
So
Well
yeah,
said.
he's been knocked down 5
Those
times, but so has Jared Cannonier, maybe
right.
at higher weight classes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just don't think that Jared Cannonier has ever faced someone with such a high level of controllability.
Yeah. Listen, forget the weight classes. Your brainstem is your brainstem, man. Getting your lights turned out is getting your lights turned out. But what I will say after rewatching, because again, you build these knockouts up in your head because they're so exciting at the time, and then you go back and watch them, and you're like, "Is that how that happened? I don't remember it happening that way." Like the Robert Whittaker knockout, I remember that being so emphatic and so crazy. Again, it was still a fantastic combo, but that was probably the most brutal knockout that Brunson's really suffered. And still, he's not. We see guys every single week folded over like lawn chairs, asleep, stiff as a board, this, that, and the other. All 4 of those recent knockouts from Brunson. He doesn't, that's not how it goes for him. Even the UL fight, that one's he's like beating the shit out of and exhausted, but still it's not the same as I'm asleep right now. So if you think that Jared Cannonier is a lock for a knockout, I think you're wrong. I think if Jared wins, it's based on I think he wins a decision, like with striking pressure that Brunson and then can't get it done. Or again, that maybe Brunson again maybe gassed in the 3rd round and got
I mean,
finished.
I
But
could definitely see there being difficulty for Brunson physically. I mean, Brunson is going to be the bigger guy here. He is 2 inches taller, and I mean, he has such a big frame. But Jared Cannonier, his history coming down from heavyweight, light heavyweight, now middleweight, he has a gigantic frame as well, and he is very strong and knows how to pivot out of positions. He's got the purple belt in jiu-jitsu, so it's not like he doesn't know what to do when he gets put in bad spots. That's
I
where
I I don't
I,
think I don't even think Cannonier has the greatest cardio like that though either.
no, exactly. So that's the other point, is that Gastelum has him on his back foot, pressured, tired. If these grappling exchanges are extended, Gastelum isn't able to get the body lock. He has much shorter arms. Like Derek Brunson, he's going to be able to get his body lock. And whenever he pulls, gets the double leg, is able to get the body lock, he gets those takedowns. And Cannonier has given up takedowns.
I
It's
think pe-
happened plenty.
I think like you just said, I think people are going to be really surprised with how close they are in size. Like everybody assumes because Jared is such a gorilla, which is his nickname, he's such a behemoth, he's so cut and such a physical specimen like that you think he's going to be so much bigger than Brunson, and he's going to be thicker. But like you said, I mean Brunson, it says 2 inches taller. So
Does
I
that
mean,
Crash Bandicoot pose? Like,
yeah, I
what's he
mean,
going to do at the face-off? Like, I'm very interested to see how they do match up size-wise at the face-off. And I think ultimately, I mean,
it's
if
dog.
you
It
can,
has to be
yeah,
dog. If you're paying Cannonier minus 170, that's like to me. That's even if you win, to me, that's not even a good bet because then you should have had that on a prop or the over 1.5. Like you should have something tied to that because it doesn't. It just doesn't seem like a good bet to me. And I'm very glad that we kind of went in depth on these 3 fights. I know we're maybe a little long, so to speak, but honest to God, all 3 of these would be main events for obviously a pay-per-view, but or a fight night, whatever. These would be 5-round fights for anything. So I'm definitely glad that we really dissected them.
yeah. So as we move along here through the card, we have Kyler Phillips versus
Kyler
Marcelo
the
Rojo.
Matrix.
The Matrix versus
With the
Marcelo. Is it still Pitbull or what is it now for Rojo? I mean,
I don't know. He's
either way,
crazy.
I'm looking forward to this fight. Phillips he's definitely on the flashy side. Uh, Cardio when he goes for the finish, as we've seen, is questionable, but he also outpointed uh, he was able to outpoint Song to a unanimous decision and did so impressively, landing big head kick in the first round that they were so shocked that Song was able to be still standing at that point. Maybe on a guy like Marcelo Rojo when he connects, because as you can see, Marcelo Rojo, his defense, it's all right. He faced Charles Jourdain, so it was all good. But you see his accuracy suffered because of it. He's in crashing, throwing wild combos, and not landing everything. But against Kyler Phillips here, if he's able to survive a little bit of the early action here, I mean, Rojo loves bringing the fight, and Kyler Phillips, he likes it a little more pretty. I will say, if this fight goes to the ground, I do favor Phillips in the early going. And, Phillips, he is going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here. And he is a top prospect type of guy. And I just, the only thing that keeps me from playing Kyler Phillips is minus 425, because Kyler Phillips is ultimately my pick, is that Rojo is going to bring the fight. And while I expect him to make it dirty, get to some positions he likes, he throws some good body head combos, I just don't think overall athletically, if he's not able to survive an early storm and really turn it around early and get a decision, I'm not sure he finishes Phillips. And I just don't feel comfortable playing him straight up as the dog. But believe me, I'm not playing Kyler Phillips as a minus 425 here. We have a suggestion from Daz that Kyler by sub is plus 500. So
that's interesting.
That is interesting, because Phillips here, if he gets this fight to the mat, if he's able to hurt Rojo, he will go for the sub too. So maybe that's something different he'll learn from trying to gas himself out, going for Paiva.
Kyler only has one submission win on his resume, and that was in his second pro fight, a calf slicer in 2016.
He does have the BJJ brown belt, and he does show some slick stuff on his
No,
page
for
and
sure.
all the
He
grappling,
definitely
but
is.
is that
That's
really what he goes for overall?
Right.
Is a great question.
Right.
Rojo has lost by submission 4 times because
Right.
he's
So
tough to knock out, but you can
interesting.
hurt him and get him in a bad spot too.
And I also
And
don't
he
wanna
puts himself in some bad positions.
I also don't wanna be that guy, but, like, I don't know, like, you fight on Combate in Brazil, everybody does jujitsu? Is that, like, a weird way to assume that?
Nah, I mean, you'd have to do a deeper dive on the resume,
No,
which,
of course, of course. Listen, he has
but
a Combate fight.
he lost to Sexy Mexi Castañeda by
Yeah, I was
round
just
3
literally just
submission.
about to say that,
Oh,
so
jeez.
thanks for stealing my thunder. It's cool, it's cool. Yeah, honestly, if you wanna play a greasy submission prop, you play it on the last fight, Derek Brunson by sub at plus 1,400. That's probably the greasy submission prop. But for this fight, honestly, it's a full pass for me. I'm just gonna really enjoy it. Like you said, Kyler Phillips is the pick. I really enjoyed what I saw out of Marcelo Rojo. He 1,000% won the first round versus Charles Jourdain. He took it to him. He landed like 45 strikes. I mean, he's a fucking savage. So exciting. Glad to see him get the main card nod with Kyler Phillips, two guys that should be very exciting. But I think this was a chance for Phillips to maybe get himself back on track against a relatively tough guy, not a cupcake. And if you actually look at who Rojo is supposed to fight, he's had 4 booked bouts in 2021, or 3 booked bouts in 2021 that didn't go through. Kevin Kroom, Jonathan Martinez, and Daniel Santos. So, kind of probably relatively easier matchups than Kyler Phillips, the one that he gets.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it seems pretty clear to me. I wrote down a giant thing on my notes that just said pass, because overall betting wise, while I'll take Phillips straight up, that's not something I'm looking to play.
And there's no reason, and you can't parlay him at minus 400, 425 after what we just saw in the Paiva fight. You can't trust him. Right?
No. And quite simply, I think that brings us to our next fight.
Let's do it.
We got Bobby King Green versus Nasrat Haqparast. And this fight, I think a prop for it is definitely going to end up in our big parlay for the week here.
Definitely.
Because you look at the breakdown, and Bobby Green,
Breaking
he's
it
giving up a
down,
little
keep breaking it
reach.
down.
He's given up a little leg reach, but overall, I mean, this guy, he can get in a fight with anybody, make it competitive, and really just turn it into a show. That's what Bobby Green is. He's a showman. And recently in his career, that means he's going the distance. Against Iaquinta, we had that fight to go the distance, and Iaquinta just decided that, I guess that was his reality at that point, was that he
Didn't want to
couldn't
be
keep
there.
doing it, and he didn't want to be there. He came out and said it himself, that was kind of the awakening moment, that he knew he would be done with MMA and
My
all
my
that.
dumb
So
my dumbass had like a 9-leg parlay. I had 8 legs money line all hit, and for whatever reason, the ninth leg I had Bobby Green in decision because Bobby Green always wins by decision or goes to decision and he's gonna win. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's where ultimately it's like, and you look at Nasser Hackbrass, he's got one knockout and he's got one knockout loss. Drew Dober caught him throwing a blind kick when he was super nervous. Bam, knock down, ground and pound. Nasrat's donezo. But Nasrat, he gets his own knockout earlier in his career against Joaquim Silva. But other than that, he's got 4 decision victories. So out of his 8 UFC fights, 6 of them have gone to decision. And then you look at Bobby Green. I don't trust him. I mean, now the line's coming closer. We have Bobby Green at -140 and Hack Press at +120. Seems like the Bobby Green's been getting bet down all week here, and as it gets closer to like even money, that's where I would consider a play on Bobby Green. But
yeah,
as Daz says, his negative head movement and all that stuff. Yeah, the Texas judges. It's
yeah.
very hard to take anyone by decision confidently, especially seeing how Jack Hermanson versus Sean Strickland was a split decision.
What the fuck?
That's another conversation for another day, as we got a lot of fights to break down here. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think, yeah, like that says, that's ultimately the point, is thinking that the judges and stuff, it's just tough to be confident that in with a guy that loves fighting close to his competition, a guy that fought close with Rafael Fiziev, also went and fought close with like Clay Guida. Even though he clearly won that fight, it was
Yeah.
like, it tells you that Nasrat Haqparast in his 72% defense, 74% from distance, he is going to make it competitive in the sense that he'll avoid a firefight.
Yeah. I mean, we even said it in the Thiago Moises fight. Bobby Green makes fights closer than they need to be. And Bobby Green is almost like you even just said, he's almost like the Mets like that. Like he just plays to the level of his competition. And it's a problem. Not necessarily when you're fighting someone like Rafael Fiziev and you win yourself $50,000, a nice little bonus, or you come out and you look fantastic against Ally Quinta, but that's the ghost of Ally Quinta. And you look at Nazarat's last fight. I mean, he looked like he was a weight class smaller than Dan Hooker, and Hooker like big brothered him the whole fight, wasn't even close. And that Rafa Garcia fight for Nazarat, while he looked good, it was still probably closer than it should have been with Rafa putting on the pace later. Um, like Bobby Green, right? He won that third round versus Fiziev, arguably, right? That was like the big thing. And I you can't be holding some big chalky ticket on Bobby Green, which is basically what we're saying, is that you can't trust it. So this fight to start round 3, this fight to go the distance. I would wish I could pull the trigger on somebody like Nazarat at plus money here, but even if you look at our beautiful stat page, he's you want to see him have some red in the striking, and he doesn't have too much where you need it. Maybe he's got a little bit of the power advantage, which is fair, but and the striking defense is very impressive. But Bobby Green is somebody with he never faced somebody with like Bobby Green with an unorthodox level of striking like
And I
that.
think it's a level of competition type of deal too.
Yeah. So,
So, I mean, hey guys, make sure, if you're liking the content so far, throw a like on the video for us, please. That would be awesome.
almost
If
up
you'd
to
also,
100 subscribers. So
yeah,
subscribe, share to your friends.
yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying. And listen, we're profitable on the first 3 events to start the year. Chronic Combat's up 17 units so far in 2022. So please follow the train here because we're going to keep on rolling along.
Choo choo.
And just
That
like
was
the show's
terrible.
going to keep on. The show's going to keep on rolling along here. We got Andrei Arlovsky coming in against Jared Vanderaa.
The man is 32-20.
It's a problem.
And he's okay, but he's also won 4 of his last 5.
And Jared Vanderaa is 12-6. So where does that tell you about where we're at in the heavyweight division? And I guess in like the mid-level here.
Yeah.
Vanderaa, he's got, some volume. I will say, we saw that in the Tafa fight. We saw that, when he's on the feet against Romanov and Spivak and all that, but that doesn't necessarily last for too long. And I do think it's tough. It's tough to trust either side in this fight. And really the only thing that I would say is probable here, looking at their finish rates, yeah, it's pretty solid. But for heavyweights, I mean, only a 78% for Vanderaa, and you look at the level of competition versus like a 63% for Arlovsky. Like this fight for me is like a fight to go the decision or pass.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You get the fight to go the distance at -166 on FanDuel. I also like the fight just to even start round 3 at -270. You find another little something that you really like and parlay that together and get yourself a little plus money action. I don't think that either guy quits or goes down. You look at Andrei Arlovsky's last 5 wins, they've all been a decision. His losses, he's gotten choked out by Tom Aspinall, which Tom Aspinall is the next big thing, and he got counter left hooked by Jairzinho Rozenstruik in 30 seconds.
Can't blame a guy for that.
No, you can't. You look at Vanderaa, and sure, he got pummeled to oblivion by Romanov, but that guy is an actual bear. And Sergey Spivak is the polar bear. So, like, they both literally just mauled him. And honestly, that even still took deep into the second round to do it. So the guy is tough as nails. You're not going to see that kind of mauling, ground and pound, vicious wrestling type of actions from Andrei Arlovsky. It's going to be your dad's at the baseball game brawling type of fight for 15 minutes. And I really do like that fight to go the distance.
Yeah, I think it's as simple as that. And even at, what is it, the -170 that we saw?
Yeah.
That's very playable for me. And even if you combine that with the Bobby Green fight at -190 to go the distance, you make a little parlay out of that. That might end up being one of our best bets.
Is that plus money?
Oh yeah, I mean it's what did we say here? We had -170. So let's put it together for you guys. Okay, -175, and you put that together with Bobby Green fight to go the distance. Probably just going to throw this down right now. So we got +139.
Interesting. Is there any way to, if we shaved off one, to be starts round 3? Yeah, and I'm not sure which one we'd want to do, or which one.
No, I mean we're already at +139. Let's chill. I mean, if the fight starts around 3, it's probably going to decision at that point. That's just kind of how it goes. So it's like if you think there's going to be a finish, just don't bet the prop at all. I just don't think that.
Listen. Hey, don't you fight my ideas with logic and reason? What the fuck?
Yeah, listen, man. I'm out here trying to make.
No, you're right. So 130 or whatever we should.
139 plus 139. I mean, I'm about to. So go ahead and just find out. Go find out on FanDuel, please. Just make sure that we get some line value.
No, lock it in. I don't want any value.
Well, that's the thing. You got to just find out you're getting the best lines. -190 and -175, and I'll get us kicked off on our next fight here as Guru picks that up because we got the goodbye fight.
What did you say the number was for both of those? Say it one more time to me.
-190, -175.
That's actually crazy. They're both lined at -166 on FanDuel. Both of them evenly at -166, taking you to +156.
There you go. Now you're feeling a little better?
I'm about to lay some money. Hold on.
Yeah, go for it. So we got Roxanne Modafferi, the Happy Warrior versus King Casey O'Neill. I mean, this fight, we're looking at some silly lines here because O'Neill is -380 versus Roxanne Modafferi. And Yeah, I mean, Tyler Santos was just about the same line, right? Um,
Yeah.
I don't I don't think Casey O'Neill is the same level fighter where I do think that she wins this fight more often than not. Roxanne Modafferi has a real chance, and at plus 290, I'm probably not playing it myself, but I can tell you I'm definitely not playing O'Neill at minus 380. And if this fight goes to decision, having a 50-50 shot at a plus 100 for Casey O'Neill to be the winner by decision, that just I don't think that's enough juice for me to want to lay that prop on someone that still is so inexperienced against someone in Roxanne Modafferi. I mean, we're seeing 25 career wins and 19 career losses. That is such a decorated career, and I, including the tough fights. What is this going to be her 50th overall? I mean, that's quite a way to ride out the career. I mean, at Syndicate, she really built out her game and the physique. I think she's going to be the bigger fighter here. I'd love to see the face-offs because if that's the case, I think Casey O'Neill is going to have a little bit of a tough time in the clinch at points. But it's tough to trust someone in their retirement fight. As we saw, Marion Renault got
Yeah.
finished when she had never been finished in her
Yeah.
career. So the same thing goes for Roxanne. Like she's never
Definitely.
been finished, but it's her retirement fight. So like
And even different is
maybe
she's facing a young lioness here in Casey O'Neill, just an absolute savage. And so that could be really, really difficult for Roxanne. Um, I think that it's I know that it's hard to predict this freaking fight. I know that I'm tired of trying to handicap Roxanne fights. Because you're like, oh well, she's definitely gonna lose. Oh, but the line is too wide. It's like it's been that way since every single time I watched her, and I'm kind of tired of it. She's she got whooped by Santos and tough fight with Arujo,
Mhm.
right? How about that Andrea Lee fight, right? She pulls that shit out with her grappling, and now all of a sudden now Andrea Lee's a grappler. um Yeah, I think if you're taking anything, you're diving through your grandma's couch cushions and you're putting it on Roxanne Modafferi by decision at plus 500 because there's no money to be made on Casey O'Neill here.
I mean, by finish for Casey O'Neill is plus 200. So
Wait,
if you
yeah,
think Roxy gives up, I'd rather play that than the plus 100 on O'Neill by
listen,
decision, but I'm just not going to play this
wait,
fight at all.
I was just about to say though, I know Roxy's never been finished not never been finished. She's never been finished in the UFC, but like I mean, is she just all knockout? Is she all knockout? No, she got one submission in the UFC,
Hmm.
two submissions there, ground and pound. You can't predict how Casey's gonna win. She's very well rounded at this point. Um,
Yeah. I think overall the youth, the willingness to get in and mix it up, and she does have some good skills in her transitions and jujitsu. I'm just curious how much she's tested in those departments. So I'm not gonna. This is a pass for me.
yeah, and then honestly, can we actually trust Casey O'Neill's cardio for 15 minutes of wrestling? If if
I
if Roxanne is like somehow coming with the Dragon Ball Z fury of like whatever, like just throwing all that she has left because this is it.
yeah. Overall, I'm not gonna take that chance.
No, honestly,
Yeah,
like we said, there's so many fights. Pick your spots.
definitely. So on to our next fight here. You got another supremely wide line. Alex Perez at minus 380 and Matt Danger Schnell plus 290.
The only
This
danger,
fight,
the only danger that guy has is trying to make weight.
yeah. Tajik Bay the goat. Yeah, Casey O'Neill, the inside the distance, 7,000 is yeah, we're getting up there as far as the inside the distance goes with Tajik over there. But yeah, so onto this fight, we had Alex Perez and Matt Schnell. I mean, overall, the line is so wide. It's minus 380 for Perez and plus 290 for Schnell. But you go and take a quick peek over to the stats page, and it's like, oh, wait, where does Schnell show any advantage statistically? And you see him get outstruck by Rogerio Bontorin in his last fight and just kind of look in the mirror. Also, can you trust Schnell to make weight comfortably?
No,
Guru, what are you taking away from here?
no, that you can't. That you absolutely. There's first off, you can't do anything with this fight until they make weight. Even Perez, because they're freaking really, really tiny guys, man. You got to make sure that they make weight. These flyweights. Perez hasn't fought since that Figueiredo fight. Um, they've been obsessed with giving him Matt Schnell. I don't really get it. They've booked him with Matt Schnell 3 times. This is now the 4th. They sandwiched a little Askar Askarov in there, but I Perez should win this fight overwhelmingly. I feel like this is one of those fights you're gonna look back and you're gonna go, man, I should have played him at minus 300. Should have played him at minus 400. He should have been minus 4,000. I mean, he could very well dominate with the boxing, with the wrestling,
The leg
anywhere.
kicks.
Yeah, the leg kicks. Oh my god, those
Schnell's
leg kicks.
leg is out there like crazy. So if anything, like I could totally see that playing out.
100%. But the problem is that do you bet the decision? Do you bet him by finish? Do you bet? You can't. And with the line as chalky as it is, you can't, because Schnell is, dangerous off his back with a submission, or
Yeah, I'm
just
not
a generally
yeah.
scrappy. He'll throw caution to the wind. Like, he does not mind getting knocked out to try to land his shot. So when you have a fighter like that, and you're trying to pay minus 400 chalk, like, you can't do it. You're gonna blow up your parlay. Just stay away.
So yeah, I mean that brings us right on to our next fight here. We got William Knight versus Maxime Grisham. William Knight at plus 145 and Grisham at minus 165. This one, man, I don't have a great feel for it because I'm so spooked out by the size differential after seeing how Dao Jung was able to just kind of lay on top of William Knight and use his size and his athleticism to kind of neutralize all the brute strength and everything like that. I mean, Grisham, he does have the wrestling background. I mean, he showed it against Jacoby,
Yeah.
but can you trust his gas tank against someone that's willing to use so many explosive ways to get out from bottom? And I mean, William Knight's shown to have a pretty good gas tank. So I don't know that you can trust Maxim Grisham as a favorite at this point, but I'm not really running to place a bet on William Knight either. I really think that overall, I mean, I would probably look, mostly for this fight to go the decision even.
Yeah, this is a really interesting fight. I feel personally like I've had a really, really tough time just picking William Knight, betting his fights. I don't think I've been very successful, to be quite honest. I was on Dao Jung. I believe I had taken I didn't think I bet anything, but I think for some reason I circled Fabio Charant. No, 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 no. I took Knight, but I was thinking Fabio just because the line was too wide. And then I took Alonzo Menafield at the last minute, and
Mm.
that was silly. But I don't think I bet it that fight either, because again, like I've said, I've had a really tough time reading William Knight because he's such an enigma in terms of how he fights, and
Unorthodox.
yeah. And again, like, he's constantly the smaller guy, and that could be a very big problem versus Maxim Grishin, who loves to bounce on his feet, uses a lot of feints with his hands and his hips, trying to get guys to bite and move. Um, he pressures forward, for better or worse, very zombie like in that respect. And impressively, he did knock down Dustin Jacoby in that first round and had him pretty in a bad spot, and Jacoby was saved by the bell. So those kinds of things definitely are interesting when he goes on to lose that fight. William Knight does seem to have good cardio, which really does work in his favor. I don't know that his big leg kicks are gonna be as helpful because, like I said, he really is very light on his feet, Grisham. And if William Knight is going to throw himself out of position, Grisham is just going to hold him up against a cage or put him on his ass. And
Yeah.
he, like you said, he might be too big. Where I don't know that he's going to be able to, like he did versus Alonzo Menafield. I don't know that he's just going to be able to. And God, if William Knight is strong, he's not even as he's more explosive than he is strong. That's his best thing. He's so explosive the way he explodes off his back to get to Alonzo Menifield's back. It's incredible. I just feel like Maxim is a little bit better on the ground than that.
He has a lot more experience. He's 31-9, and to be honest, I thought he won the fight against um, Dustin Jacoby, but they just
Mm.
didn't give it to him because, hey man, you can't just miss weight like that and get a close decision. Like I thought honestly he did enough in the stand up, and even in the first round I thought it was clear that he won. So overall, I mean, I do
What's
think that Grisham has a great chance to win here. I just don't. I'm not going to bet the fight because, like you said, it's very difficult to get a great read on Knight from a fight to
yeah.
fight basis,
God, I really
especially
wish
given up the size.
I wish the freaking line was flipped. I would hammer Grisham so hard. Pause.
Jeez, good guru, you all right over there?
No, I'm gonna sit this next one out.
uh, so in our next fight here, we got Mano Martinez versus Ronnie Lawrence. Talk about another extremely wide line. You got Lawrence at -300 and Mano Martinez at +235. Skill wise, yeah, I mean Lawrence is impressive. He moves on the outside. He's got the kicks. He knows how to use his range. Strikes absorbed. He keeps it keeps it very light because you know what? He's on the ground. He's taking you down. It's rinse, wash, repeat. You see him just get after the takedowns. He lands 8 of 9 against Vince Cachero. And on his contender series of performance as well, he keeps landing takedowns. But the thing that's concerning for me is that guys keep on getting up. So if Mano Martinez shows that he's competent at all and is able to keep getting up, I do think that Mano Martinez has the advantage with the hands, and he is able to switch some stances as well. Although I have him listed as orthodox, as I did a little more tape throughout the week, he kind of shifts a little like his teammate Adrian Yanez. So I
Yeah.
don't think he has the same level of explosion or timing as Yanez, but I do think he has the ability to put combos together. I just think Lawrence is going to be the quicker fighter,
I,
and
I
if he does get tagged, he uses the level change.
I feel
Guru,
like
where are
we
you?
I feel like we haven't seen the best of Mana Martinez yet for whatever reason. Obviously, his last fight, he missed weight and his coach had just passed. Same
Yes,
coach as Yanez, RMP. I feel like as I'm looking at this tape, or the tail of the tape that you again so lovely created for us, I think that inch and a half reach advantage could be really interesting for Mana Martinez. Um, Ronnie Lawrence, man, after his first fight with Vince Cachero, I was like, man, this everybody was so excited because that card was a freaking dud. I think he almost had the only finish on that card, or it was really, really impressive. I just remember his fight standing out on that card. And then we were all so excited to see him fight Trevin Jones, right? That fight was going to be unbelievable in July. We broke it down. We were excited and he botches the weight cut. He misses so badly that the commission shuts it down. Um, Man, that makes me so freaking nervous coming into this fight. I'm not sure if we have like a gym update. I don't know if he went to the PI Institute. I don't know if he got a nutritionist. Like I'm not
he's
super.
been with Sanford.
He's been with Sanford, but wasn't he say with Sanford before?
Yeah.
Okay, to my
Yes.
point,
No. No. I know. That's what I'm
right.
saying. So no,
So
he
so
hasn't.
even Stanford's a good gym, so, like, it's not like they don't know what they're doing, and if a guy fucks up, I'm sure
It
they're
could just happen.
diligent. Right, and it could just happen. It's just, man, it's a red fucking flag. So you gotta wait. You have to wait till weigh-ins. These guys are light, small, and again, both guys missed weight. Mana missed weight in his last fight, and and what's his face? And Ronnie missed weight to the point that he couldn't fight. So we gotta see these guys weigh in and face off. Uh, Ronnie should get it done with his overall wrestling pressure, but Mana's tough, right? I mean,
He is, and I think he's very talented. I just think overall, if you're looking at a guy that's going to land that many takedowns,
yeah,
yeah, I'm going to take method of victory. I mean, Ronnie Lawrence by points is +115. It's pretty solid if a guy's landing that many takedowns and getting at least some level of control and not being dominated on the feet. I think he's going to win the decision more than like 50% of the time, which is overall, yeah, the line's -290, but I think if there's any way you play Ronnie Lawrence, that's how it's going to be. I'm just not running to play it.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. So keep it rolling along on the Chronic Combat train here. We got Alexander Hernandez versus Henato Moykano. This
Yeah, man. This
fight,
this fight.
ooh,
Oh my god. You and again, I almost I don't. You might have to slap me because I almost agree
oh
with
no, Guru,
Alexander
come
Hernandez.
on, man.
Right? Like what? That guy's got like
You know
I don't
what?
know.
But
I don't
does
know
he
how.
make a valid point this time?
No, probably he's probably the headlining early prelim or something. Like he probably doesn't even have a point. Like they're probably giving him some level of exposure he doesn't even comprehend. But I don't know. But listen, could he be could Henato Moicano and him be on the main card, open up the main card? Sure, why not? They could. They both have the notoriety too.
So let's go at a real deep look here because when I went and saw that the line was minus 160 for Henato Moicano and plus 140 for Alexander Hernandez, I naturally said, you know what? Let's take a look and see, like, real quick, because on tape, Hernandez, he hasn't given you the most overwhelmingly positive performances against higher level competition. And Henato Moicano, all he's faced is high level competition.
Yeah.
And he moved up weight with all of his chin issues. So
Yeah.
you look here and it's like, look at all that green. When you think Alexander Hernandez, oh, he's going to have a an advantage in the stand up or anything, it's like not from distance, not on the ground. I mean, Drew
Yeah.
Dober was taking down
Just
Alexander
really just
Hernandez
with
and
that.
getting control.
Right. And
I don't.
you see those four on the bottom left there. Those are power stats. That's
Yeah,
knockouts. So
I
that's
mean,
all the
sure.
accuracy, all the defense, all the grappling. That's
Is there a
all
chance that
Moicano.
Alexander Hernandez wins by knockout?
Sure.
Yes, yes, there is.
Gotta
But
wait for weigh-ins. Do not be putting Moicano in a damn parlay until you see that man make weight.
oh, I feel that, and overall, Henato Moicano at minus 160. If he's looking good out there, and remind you, he used to fight at 145 and moved up to 155. So
Mm.
we just want to see, face off here. Moicano is going to be 2 inches taller. They have the same reach, but he's got that leg reach and he whips those kicks from distance. Hernandez is so heavy on that lead leg at times.
My biggest concern though is that the people that beat Hernandez really punished him on the feet. Like it wasn't with the wrestling per se. Like Moises just punished him overall. Dober punished him on the feet, and Donald Cerrone punished him on the feet. So I don't know that Moicano, yeah, he has the striking advantage. I don't know, but as we definitely know, contextually, he doesn't have the power advantage.
So would you
So
say he's Rafael Fiziev, Korean Zombie,
who?
Jose Aldo, Brian Ortega,
Oh,
Alexander Hernandez?
yeah.
Those are
No,
the
no, no.
guys that have been finishing Henato
Yeah,
Moicano. I don't see
but the
Hernandez
pro-
outpointing Moicano.
but you
It's a
know what
finish or bust.
the problem is that other than the Cubs, he beat Calvin Cater too. Calvin Cater, Cub Swanson, those are really good wins for
Yeah,
Hanada
it's the leg
Moicano.
kicks, and Hernandez so heavy. He's such a heavy boxing style, mimicking the Dillashaw movement, but he ends up so heavy on that lead leg at times. And Moicano, he's very happy to throw out those leg kicks.
Mark Montoya, Factory X, right? Is that correct? For
For
Hernan,
Alexander Hernandez, and Moicano's
yeah.
out of American Top Team.
Right. So we don't like I like Mark Montoya as a person. I'm sure he's an awesome dude. We were really questioning the game plan, right? For in
And the
that Thiago
Moises fight,
Moises fight, and then
yeah,
how they were like complaining about the judging. That really sticks out in
yeah,
my
maybe
mind.
that's Hernandez more than anything.
No,
But
it
I
was
mean,
him
oh
too.
yeah, yeah, that's right. He went to the judge or to.
Yeah,
They were all
dude.
surprised, like, yeah, no, that was definitely a red flag.
It was a whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, let's go on to another
The next
fight
to
that
we got
ends up
four
being
more.
a little bit sketchy, huh? But I'm
A
very
little.
excited. We
Listen,
got
these are these low. Listen, I'm really excited, but these are those lower level MMA fights that we kind of say to generally avoid,
yeah.
at least in terms of betting, parlaying them on side level, right? What do you see
hmm
here?
I mean, ultimately, I mean, like Carlos Olberg on paper here. I mean, he should be winning this fight by knockout. He should be hurting Charant on the feet. But the water buffalo has been grazing where over with Cejudo, huh?
He's been grazing over at Fight Ready, man.
Yeah. So I mean, this guy's been getting in rounds with John Bones Jones, and you got to imagine, I mean, he's got a lot of submissions in his career, a +4 differential, where he's been knocked out 2 more times than he's knocked others out. So that's definitely a bad sign because all 3 of his losses coming by 2 of them by knockout and 1 by submission. Man, Fabio Charant, that's where it gets a little sketchy because Olberg is going to be able to put on a pace for at least the beginning, the first round. Depends on how much of a pace he puts on this time, but he does hit heavy. The question is, Charant, are you willing to commit to the grappling? Because in your career, that's not something you've really done on a consistent basis. We have to make like a leap in our minds. It's like the Ngannou thing. Like, are you going to start doing something that we haven't seen you do on a consistent basis? And I'm sorry, I just compared Fabio Charant to Francis Ngannou, but it's like the most recent thing in experience where you're like, is what they're doing in camp really going to play out when the fight starts? And do you think Olberg's going to let the water buffalo get to his wrestling here?
Well, listen, I don't know that he has the ability to stop him if Fabio is strategic enough on getting inside. If he shows an ability to somehow, weather the storm or hold his own on the feet, maybe gain a little bit of respect. If this fight gets out of the first round, man, Fabio could really get something done because Carlos Olberg, man, that guy's got maybe 5 minutes of gas if he, continues to throw the way he was throwing versus Kennedy and Zechiku. Right? I mean, he threw crazy and then gassed out and got choked out or knocked out, I should say. Got pummeled, absolutely pummeled. In a fight that he was majorly favored at like minus 300. I believe you're muted there, buddy.
We see the water buffalo has been with Hooft recently, according to Daz out here. I do believe that before we saw him getting rounds with Bones, we did see him getting some rounds in at Sanford too. And then Dez out here, big believer in Charant. Thanks for checking in, Dez.
Yeah, listen, I think it's an interesting thought. Who did I bring it up to you off air that it reminded me of?
Ooh.
What did I say? Oh, fuck me.
All right, well, you got to keep it moving.
Yeah, keep it moving.
Ultimately, this fight is most likely not going the distance, but I can't recommend you guys to play it when the total rounds we got, under 1.5 at minus 150. I don't know if it happens that quickly because I do think that there is some level of durability on either side or survivability for a certain period of time. I don't love playing the 1.5s.
Marcin Prachnio.
Okay.
So the point is that you look so bad in these opening UFC fights, right? He'd been knocked out like two or three times in a row within that first round. And you know what I'm saying? Like you couldn't look any freaking worse. And then you come out there and you get the dub. Oh my God, he actually does belong here. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, and again, the water buffalo, he's only been training MMA for 5 or 6 years, so he's gonna make and he's already gotten to the UFC, so he's making leaps and bounds very quickly, especially at 27 years old. So I think that you don't be surprised if you see him pull something out that you've never seen, because that's what you're supposed to be doing at this stage of your career. You should be absolutely getting in all the rounds and all the places, tapping all the resources, trying new things. Like go out there, don't get knocked out in 2 seconds by Carlos Olberg, and go grapple this guy and go cash a check, man. So that's what I'd like to see from Fabio. It's just you can't trust him to do it.
Yeah, I'm not putting my money on this fight at all.
Maybe grandma's couch cushion money, but that's about it.
Yeah. Just maybe a little sprinkle. But
a little sprinkle.
Brings us along to a fight where I actually feel like I might have a little bit more of a solid play here on a more inexperienced fight. Yeah, I believe it or not, I really came away from this experience of scouting. I thought Jacob Malkoun, when I was watching his regional tape before his debut, showed like the ability of like an all-around fighter, whatever. But he came in and got absolutely obliterated by Hawes in the first few seconds of that fight, so we never really got to see right away. So yeah, the line was a little wacky going into the Al Hassan fight, but man, Al Hassan comes out there and he just doesn't have real wrestling defense. He's got the judo background, but if you're consistently able to pressure and get him on the singles and the doubles and really attack his legs instead of a body lock, he doesn't have as well of defense as he does in the judo aspect with the fighting the upper body in a more of a Greco style. So coming into against AJ Dobson, you see that Dobson's going
Tank
to have a
unit.
4-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage, a 5.5-inch leg reach advantage. Malkoun is not going to be able to just simply go ahead, shoot a single, shoot a double, and just get control for the entire fight. He's got 11 minutes, 11 and a half minutes of control, most all coming in that Al Hassan fight. That's not something he can just sit back and work on because he he only landed half a strike per minute of control in that time. He was land praying. There's no other way around it. AJ Dobson, that's not an option. His option is to clip him on the way in because AJ Dobson is going to come out looking to kill.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So why isn't the first off, whose wife did Jacob Malkoun sleep with?
No, he's
Like
Robert Whittaker's training partner.
They hate no. Oh, come on, Philip
Oh,
Hawes.
I'm sorry. I'm missing your point.
Right, Phil Hawes, absolute behemoth. Abdullah Araka Hassan, knockout artist, absolute freaking unit. And then, we'll give you an easy one this time. Dana White Contender Series guy making his debut, AJ fucking Dobson. Are you crazy? These guys are mammoths. They're so fucking big and strong. I don't know what Jacob Malkoun did.
He's not like your normal Contender Series guy either, because you see him coming out of a Mortal Martial Arts Center. That's Matt Brown's team, and they also have Mark Coleman on the staff. So it's like they got a lot of good voices with AJ Dobson,
and he's got an extensive amateur career fighting John Gunther, the Ultimate Fighter contestant.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't someone that just comes in 6-0, supremely green, doesn't have any other skills. Yeah, he's going to bum rush you, but at the same time, he's able to stuff takedowns. He's able to fight, a little bit more extended. He does have a decision win in his career. He's got 3 submissions.
Did you
he's
see
well-rounded.
Did you see that Kalen Hill knockout?
Oh my word!
He sent that man to the shadow realm. That man is still asleep. He's still sleeping. But seriously, you're right. I think you're right. And you can get on DraftKings, you can still get AJ Dobson at -115. I'm not sure why the line is so close. I don't.
Yeah, I'm playing AJ Dobson -115.
What, are we missing something? That's why I get a little sketched. He's bigger?
Maybe
he's got 3 inches of reach.
Is that what they're saying? Like maybe
I mean, he did show a little bit of gas issues, right? Did he not in the
no, Dana White Contender Series? No,
not in the Dana White Contender Series.
Oh, in his decision? I
mean,
listen, I just don't think that Malkoun's going to be able to present enough of a threat on the feet to keep him. I mean, at -115, that's why I'm looking to play this. Normally, I thought this fight was going to be like a -300 AJ Dobson. I think that Malkoun's getting a little more rub off of being Whittaker's teammate now that he actually has a win in the UFC. People just got to remember that was against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. He missed weight again before he moved up to 185, where he didn't have to cut as much since he returned to the UFC. So honestly, I go AJ Dobson. That's probably going to be one of my bigger plays of the day here at -115.
Do you want to lock in at least a unit or 1.1 units on AJ Dobson -115 money line, or is there a prop?
There's no real prop listed for me here on
Oh, the props are fully up on The props are fully up on FanDuel.
You love to hear that.
So I'm not sure what you're looking at.
Yeah, so I guess
maybe
what I was
AJ Dobson round 1 or 2 +155. I mean, maybe he gets a finish over those first 10 minutes.
No, I mean just by knockout +195. Dobson by knockout.
But what about a sub?
I mean, he has 3 in his career. I do think Malkoun has the wrestling more than he has the striking.
Mm.
And he's got the jiu-jitsu brown belt. He trains with Whittaker. I think he's got a very good grappling background, and I've seen him do a lot of things, whether regional or against Al Hassan, where positionally he knows what he's doing. I just don't think he can rely on that to win a decision this time, and that's where I think
AJ
that Dobson should just be able to win
Dob-
any way he wants.
Dobson by decision is plus 600. That's like stupid. What if he survives?
Yeah, and yeah, Malkoun will try and land prey, and
Yeah,
I just don't think that's an option here.
it'll only be an option if Dobson throws everything and the kitchen sink at him in round 1,
So yeah,
and then
Dobson is
Malkoun survives.
oh man, Dobson is minus 122 to your point on FanDuel. So it's like
Right.
if we want that minus 115 now,
Which
the more that we talk about it
and
here,
I do.
I think that's a 2.3 to win 2.
Wow. Listen, I like your breakdown. You've sold me on it. So
But maybe we should see the face off before we make that type of commitment.
we won't have minus
We
115
won't have
then.
minus 115.
So those are
That's
those
the
decisions
debate.
we have to make.
It's true.
Stay tuned to our Bet MMA. Stay tuned to our Twitter at Chronic Combat, at Chronic Combat Conversations on Instagram. Make sure you're checking us out. Subscribe. We just got back up on Apple Podcasts, guys. So make sure you resubscribe. Send 5 stars to the channel there. Really appreciate that. Up on YouTube. Subscribe. We're live. Listen, we need that algorithm. We need that algorithm juicing. So please, 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 just it takes 2 seconds. Just go down there while you're listening right now. Just click like. Just like that video. You'd be surprised how important those likes are. So thank you so much.
Yeah. So now we move on to our the first of our last 2 fights here. We got Douglas Silva de Andraj versus Sergey Morozov. And we actually were pretty heavy on Silva de Andraj in his last fight against
Yes, we
Gaetano
were.
Perello.
And we
However,
actually were pretty heavy on Sergey Morozov in his last fight as our dog of the day.
against Taha, that's right.
Did I
And
steal your thunder?
no, you didn't. I was going to say because we were all over Lerone Murphy when he
Yes.
fought Douglas Silva de Andrade.
Yes,
So
we
it's not
were.
that we won't fade, either guy. I mean, actually, I think I might have even put a small play on Sergey Morozov against Umar Nurmagomedov, who he has a round 2 submission loss to. He also has a round 3 submission loss to Mozar Evliev. So this guy has faced the highest level of competition, and yeah, he might have gotten sub by them, but I don't see Silva de Andrade with 1 sub win in his career, winning by sub. Morozov does have a knockout loss, and Andrade has 20 knockout wins in his career. So if there's a path to victory for Silva de Andrade in this specific fight, it's going to be by knockout. However, looking at Morozov's last performances and where he's training now out of American Top Team, moving over from Erkan Kush camp, he seems to be ready to bring the grappling attack these days. You saw against Khalid Taha that he committed to 3 rounds of it, gets over 12 minutes of control, and is really just a super impressive performance, showing that he's able over 8 minutes of control, and just showing that he's able to put together a performance to win in a safe fashion. And that's what he's going to have to do here against Andrade. And you see Andrade's takedown defense at only 66%. I don't think that's going to be enough. What do you think?
Yeah, listen, I was looking at it, and it's one of those things you look at it, you go, oh my God, he's got Douglas Silva Andrade, though. He's got a little bit higher takedown defense than Sergey Morozov. And, the takedown stats are kind of close. And then you look at it and you go, well, Sergey Morozov's had 2 UFC fights, and Douglas de Andrade has had 9. And Douglas Silva de Andrade went for 6 takedowns, and Sergey Morozov's already gone for, Silva de Andrade has only gone for 5 takedowns, whereas Sergey Morozov's already gone for 6 through 2 fights. So it's very obvious who's actually going to use what, despite, where some green or some red might be. Sergey Morozov should be able to get this fight to the ground, and showed really good enough striking, especially against the savage in Umar Nurmagomedov, that Douglas Silva de Andrade, while he's very powerful, I feel like he's a fairly conventional striker. Like he's not like Umar Nurmagomedov in the way in which he's gonna surprise you with all these things. Like I don't think Douglas poses anything that Sergey hasn't seen before. Whereas you're gonna see the muscle hamster get spammed with takedowns and I don't know how good that goes for him.
No, and overall, I mean, you see the line is Sergey Morozov minus 210 and Silva de Andrade plus 175. And if I was going to take a method of victory for either guy here, I would definitely say that the best one would be to go by decision for Morozov.
Yeah.
It seems like, the simplest idea as far as path to victory. And, the line, they don't even have it posted yet on FanDuel or DraftKings, but that's what I would be looking for when it drops. If it's more than like plus 150,
Yeah, the under over is minus 186.
yeah. So I do think that this fight is going to go the distance because of the grappling attack of Morozov and his willingness to commit to it, and Andrade's inability to effectively stuff takedowns over a long time because of how much he throws into his power shots with his hands leaves the opportunity to be ducked under and taken down. Can he reverse Morozov? That remains to be seen. He probably will have a strength advantage in this fight, moving back down to 135 after being at 145 for a few fights. But at 36 years old, it might be tough to keep up the pace if he's not able to knock out Morozov. So I will take a chance on a prop. But as far as money line at minus 210 against a guy with very heavy hands, I'm not going to run that risk here. And that brings us to our last fight. Or our first fight.
It does. The first fight, but the last fight. And I really wanted to quickly shout out DFS by the numbers. Brady, he had tweeted out earlier, and I wanted to get in on it. He said if you had access to FanDuel on this last fight, and I totally agreed with the handicapping, so I just wanted to bring it up already. He said to bet the under 2.5 at minus 142. I went to go look at it right now. Guys, they pulled the line.
Yeah, of course. It was a mistake.
Because it was wrong.
Yeah, they definitely didn't mean to do that because Jeremiah Wells, he's coming out crazy. And Mike Mathitha, aka Blood Diamond, very curious how they announce him at the event. Because how UFC lists him on their stats website and everything, it's like it's a very big confusion. Some of his fights, he's Mike Diamond when you're looking up stuff. So definitely a little confusing all around.
Very confusing.
But yeah, Jeremiah Wells, he's coming out of Renzo Gracie Philly, and that gym has been on a run. I do think he has great training partners. He's shown the ability. He has 4 knockouts, 3 submissions, 2 decisions. That nasty knockout of Warley Alves. He's shown that he can do it against top level competition. He's not some green newcomer. Whereas Blood Diamond coming in 3-0, kickboxer. Limited regional tape overall, and really doesn't look great in the tape that you can find. Guru, I mean, we got the line minus 235 Wells and plus 190 Blood Diamond.
I didn't really understand like all this love about Blood Diamond. I've been hearing about the debut of Blood Diamond for weeks and months and whatever, and that he's a training partner, Kid City Kickboxing, and he's a beast and this and that. I watched the tape and like he's just insane. He's throwing spinning kicks for no reason. He's just nuts. Like he thinks he's in a karate movie or something. It was really, really strange. And his gas tank was extremely suspect. And I have no idea how he pulled out that fight versus Dimps Giles and on Eternal MMA 80 on Fight Pass. I mean, what the that was horrible. So if he even looks like a third of like that guy, he's in trouble. Wells is he's gonna smash him right away. He's gonna shoot for a takedown right away. He's a wrestler. I watched a ton of Jeremiah tape. The one time that he didn't look good was the that recent decision loss, which is not even that recent anymore, to Vincus de Jesus in 2019. And what Vincus does is he's a great striker and he throws a ton of action and he also continues to move forward and he doesn't allow Wells to get inside. He doesn't allow Wells to get off his wrestling. He stuffs the takedowns and he makes Wells tired. But like since then, the last 3 opponents, including Warley Alves, have not been able to do that. And he's smashed them. So I really think he smashes Mike Mathitha here. I honestly, the only city kickboxing guy to get a win tonight might be just Izzy. And that's still a might. What I do like is I like Jeremiah Wells. I kind of like a little opening fight parlay. Why not go a little chalky, a little crazy, right? Why not just parlay Morozov to Wells, get us
Hmm.
a little plus 110 action on DraftKings, minus 210 and minus 235 at the moment, respectively, and and start off the night with a win.
Yeah. Ultimately, I just don't see a big enough reason to want to play Blood Diamond as an underdog. It's
But what
just,
about my play?
yeah, I really like that start the card parlay, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Morozov, I said I don't really want to play his money line, all that, but listen, if you want to start off, a little light parlay here, a little minus 225, minus 230, you get Wells and Morozov to kick it off. I think, the shakiness could come here down the line with Fabio Sharon as far as underdogs go, but once again, not really to play that. So, yeah, if you're looking to start your night right, that could be a fun way to do it. Um,
I couldn't agree more.
but aside from that, I mean, thanks for making it this far.
Wait,
Uh,
before you
yeah.
wrap up, I think it's important to talk about Super Bowl 56, the Rams minus 4.5 over the Bengals.
I think everyone and their mother wants to see the Bengals win, and
Yeah,
and except for Vegas. So I think that tells you just about everything you need to know, and you should probably just bet the money line on the
on the
Rams.
Rams. That's literally shut up. That's what I'm thinking. There was a boost out. Cooper Cup, I got him at plus 100 to score a touchdown. I do think he scores that touchdown. Since that, they've been boosting a ton of um oh Burrow and Stafford to both have 2 touchdowns. But I'm telling you, that under first off, that under over has crashed. If you're playing fucking over 40, bro, it was 50. That number has come down 2 points, 3 points. So if you're betting overs, you're not gonna get it. It's gonna be dicey.
Uh-oh. Careful about the yeah, so listen, overall, like we said, as Dad's looking for a quick recap here, take the Rams money line and probably think about taking the under. So
Yeah,
that's that's where it's gonna be at. And thanks so much for joining us. We hope you give us a like and subscribe to all of our channels, and
definitely.
Guru, take us away, man.
Yeah, listen, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll have our guest, Nate Maness. Nate
Nate
Maness. I
Maness.
do that. I do that all the time. Sorry,
Yeah,
bud. You can hit me in the cage later. Nate Maness. Our buddy Nate Maness. We'll have him next week for the unbelievable RDA card, right? RDA versus
Fazeev.
Fiziev. Oh my God, what a
Yes,
ridiculous
no, it's
fight.
going to be a really good time. Just had to do a little rescheduling due to some conflicts, but
Yeah,
really looking forward to next week with Nate
100%.
Maness, and hope you guys join us.
Yeah. So seriously, make sure you guys tune in. You can find me at Guru Scouting MMA on Instagram, Twitter, Verdict, and Tapology. Find my awesome co-host TB Scouting MMA on Instagram, Verdict, Twitter, and Tapology. Guys, please continue to stay tuned with us on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, check the Twitters, listen. Most importantly, if you're listening, Bet MMA. Go check it out. That's where we post all our stuff. That's how we make all our money. That's how we get to brag that we're up money. Without it, we just, there's no
You got to take
accountability.
us at
There's
our
no
word.
accountability now,
It's
and
third
that's the
party
most
track.
important thing. So, anything to add?
That's about it.
Dude, so listen, what is it? 7 more weeks in a row still. Like we're just about to get into the thick of it. So, stay tuned.